A very good morning to you. Welcome to the West Ham Voice. I'm recording this at midnight, but it will go out at something like 8:30 in the morning. So by the time it goes out, I'm sure there's going to be a whole load of other news to maybe top this particular one. But it is what it is at this moment in time. And what I wanted to talk about this morning is about a number of claims that are being bandied around. A number of claims bandied around as news at the moment. One, that the board are all of a sudden surprised that teams are asking for a much higher transfer price for the players that we're now after. Two, that Lucas Paqueta will be sold if a bid of £60 million is received. And three, that Graham Potter has 2 games left to save his job. Now, if you're new to this channel, or if you've watched the West Ham Voice before, but yet to become a subscriber, along the bottom there is a link to become a subscriber. Please do subscribe to the channel. And if you like to become a member of the channel, you can go through that link as well. Now, whilst some may claim that they have access to insider information, by reaching out to the senior source at the club or reaching out to an individual who works behind the scenes or on the training ground at West Ham, or reaching out to some agents or journalists who are close to various internal sources. The one thing that we've never been confident about is whether the information that any of us receive from these sources is ever really accurate. Now, I guess the only time it is accurate is when we actually see it happening. I mean, for example, how many players have we been linked to in this transfer window, and yet we've signed only 4? Now, that's a prime example of how some information goes no further than mere gossip rather than it being real news. And so these 3 stories that are out at the moment, that we're going to sack Potter anytime soon, that we're worried about the prices that people are asking for players, and that Lucas Paqueta is going to be sold. Sometimes you've just got to sort of look at these stories and wonder how much truth there is in them. There are a number of reasons why information is sometimes shared. To push a particular narrative, maybe, to whistleblow as to what's going on within the club, or just to create a crisis when there really isn't one at all. So, of the 3 current stories that I've mentioned at the start, which of them has any merit? Now, let's deal with the Lucas Paqueta story first, shall we? Apparently, if a £60 million offer is made for the player, then West Ham will be tempted to sell. And in addition, it'll be the Spurs or Aston Villa who are interested. Now, when I asked for clarification, I was told we would have to buy a lot of players first to even consider selling Paqueta. Now, given that I've got very little confidence that we're going to get even one player through the door before the transfer window shuts, I doubt very much we're going to be going out buying loads of players. So I'm going to suggest that the Paqueta story is somewhat a gossip rather than any truth in it. I think Paqueta is here beyond this summer transfer window. But if West Ham continue to do badly by the time the January window opens, then perhaps he may ask to leave. But I'm confidently knocking this Paqueta rumour firmly into touch. If by the last day of the transfer window we have miraculously signed 3 or 4 players, say 2 midfielders and a defender, and that we've got another 1 or 2 on the brink of signing, then I will bid Paqueta farewell this summer, but I doubt very much that's going to happen. But if we were to sell Paqueta in this window without adequately replacing him, I would then seriously ask exactly what are the board's intentions. Are they asset stripping? And the only real assets that we have really are players. If so, and we just sell all our good players, are we then preparing for life in the Championship? Now, how this would help West Ham, I simply don't know. The club's value would drop immensely. If the board truly believe the club is worth 800 million, which seems rather excessive, it's unlikely to be worth even half that if we were to get relegated. Then there is those who say, well, the board only just went to get relegated in order to get the parachute payment. Well, that would pale into insignificance if there's a drop in value in the club, plus the loss of Premier League income that they would have earned if they stayed in the Premier League. Added to that, any half decent player that would be left after relegation would be pretty much devalued. Can you imagine Jared Bowen? We're saying that we'd want no less than £80 million for him now. You know, he'd probably be sold for a song, 20 mil, 25 mil. So I don't get it. I still cannot say why West Ham are unable to strengthen the squad properly, save for the continuing claim that we have cash flow poverty. We can spend money if the board were to invest their own, but there seems to be a general reluctance from Sullivan, Kretinsky, and any of the other shareholders to do that. And the Gold family, as we know, are trying to sell their shares rather than injecting any more money into this beleaguered club. But honestly, whilst every team around us has strengthened to give themselves a fighting chance, West Ham seem to be limply waiting for the transfer window to shut and probably not do any more business. Perhaps, just maybe, Graham Potter believes he's got enough quality in this squad to see us okay, and that at some point the academy players will mature into Premier League world beaters. But that's a tall order for the young lads. I think we can see from the strain in Potter's press conferences that he knows he's been shortchanged. Whatever promises Karen Brady made to him when persuading him to sign to become manager, that seems to have evaporated. The senior source and Potter have stated that it's going to be a busy week in the last full week of the transfer window. But busy doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to sign anyone. We may be busy asking to sign players, but we may not necessarily get over the line. And that takes me to the second story, or the second rumour. How is it that all of a sudden the board are worried that other teams are now asking for too much money for players that we want to sign? Pretty simple, really. They smell desperation and they smell blood. If you're going to leave the most important aspect of your transfer business right up until the last minute, then the clubs you're approaching are going to see big money signs in their eyes. Here's a scenario for you. Hello, this is Club X. May I help you? David Sullivan. I'd like to speak to your chairman, please. Mr. Chairman, we have West Ham United on line 1. Tell them I'm busy, but don't hang up just yet. Let them wait, and I'll tell you when to put them through. 10 minutes later, you can put them through now. David Sullivan, sorry I kept you waiting for so long. I was just having a crap in the toilet. How can I help you? Oh, you're interested in our central midfielder? Of course he's available for sale. It'll cost you £35 million. What? You thought he was only worth 22 million? David, you see, had you called us in the first few weeks of the transfer window when we were desperate to sell, then you might have been able to get him for a knockdown price of 17 million. But we've done our business for the summer. We've sold all the players that we have to sell and bought all the ones that we need to buy. So selling this particular player would be like a Brucey bonus to us. I'll tell you what we'll do. You can have him for 28 million plus 7 million in add-ons if you stay up. Deal. Pleasure doing business with you, Mr. Sullivan. We are now desperate. We should have done our main business weeks ago, and now we should be at a point of tweaking the squad rather than trying to fill the massive holes that we have within it. Will we get spanked by clubs with their big demands? And will we end up signing players on free transfers that we didn't really want, but had no choice but to do so? Quite possibly. Now on to the final rumour, and that's Potter having 2 games to save himself. Do I think Graham Potter is in danger of getting the sack? Yes, I do. Do I think it will happen if we lose the next 2 games? No, I don't think it will happen. No. We've got Wolves away in the Carabao Cup, and then we've got the Premier League game against Forest on Sunday. Now, Potter is certainly under scrutiny, that's for sure. Now, do you remember the old saying at West Ham United that if a manager loses 6 games in a row, then they'll be out the door? Now, if we lose 6 games, then yes, but I'm not including the Carabao Cup in that. I think Graham Potter has got 4 more Premier League games to save himself, and if he loses all 4, then he will be for the chop. And those 4 games include our away game against Forest, as I've mentioned, next weekend, Spurs at home, Crystal Palace at home, and then to Everton away. Now, if Graham Potter doesn't win any of those 4 league games, he'll be out the door. And how ironic could it be that David Moyes, of all managers, could be the one to put the final nail in Graham Potter's managerial career at West Ham? The irony. Potter's record in 21 games, I think he's managed now, is poor. He's won 5 games, and his record is only slightly better than that of Avram Grant's under this ownership. And we all know how that turned out. I think Potter has got to do something drastically different, because even he now realizes just how awful a situation we're in at West Ham United. Not only awful on the pitch, but off it as well. And I'm sure he must have believed that he was going to be backed in this transfer window more so than what's already happened. Now, there is the theory that because David Sullivan didn't want Graham Potter at the club, he's now doing all he can to ensure that he fails so that he can sack him early. That's possible. We all know that it was Karen Brady who pushed to get Graham Potter and to actually give him a 2.5-year deal when David Sullivan wanted an initial 6 months until the end of last season. Was Sullivan right for a change? But is he now sabotaging Potter to fail? I guess we will see in the final week of this transfer window as to what business we're going to do, if any at all. If we don't do any, or if we don't bring enough players in, or the right players in, then maybe it's a sabotage. But if we do, then maybe Potter's got a fair chance to actually do something, at least keep us in the Premier League. That's probably all we're expecting now, isn't it? So yes, I think Graham Potter is in trouble, but I don't think it's going to be the next 2 games that will determine his future at West Ham. I think it will be the next 4 league games that will determine his fate. With Wolves aside, as I've said, if we lose to Forest, if we lose to Spurs, that will hurt. If we lose to Crystal Palace and Everton, then it will be farewell, Graham Potter. And welcome? Well, who would it be? You can choose between Sean Dyche, Steve Cooper, or Ange Postecoglou, maybe. We know one thing with Ange, it'll be exciting. If not, we not win many games. It will certainly be exciting to watch his team play football, which is something that we are desperate for at the moment, isn't it? Not only desperate for good football, but desperate for some wins. This week is going to be busy. Am I glad I'm going to be away in Turkey for the week? I don't know. Because I know what's going to happen. I know that I won't be able to resist. And the minute I hear of any news, I know I'm going to get on the phone and record myself and put it out there. Anyway, let's see what happens this week. I'm expecting some transfer business tomorrow, or at least some signs of real transfer pushes coming through. Then we've got Wolves on Tuesday. I'm hoping for a win. If you saw my preview of that on Sunday evening, sorry, not afternoon, you will know I predicted a 2-1 win there. And then, of course, we got Nottingham Forest this coming Sunday as well. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. Do leave your comments. If you've yet to become a subscriber, please click the link below and become a subscriber. And I'll see you all very soon.